Hello everyone, my name is Ivan Perez from SymFinTek, and in today's video we are going to talk about the incentive profiles entity of the Commissions Conductor for Acumatica. In our last videos we have discussed the person entity and the role entity. So the one that we have pending is the incentive profiles. As we have discussed at the beginning of this series, there are three main entities that need to be configured and related in order to start calculating commissions in the Commissions Conductor for Acumatica. We have already discussed the person management screen or the sales agents management screen, the role management screen, and today we're going to talk about the incentive profiles entity. The incentive profiles entity defines the behavior that the incentive is going to take into your commissions structure. Basically, this is a place where you can define a profile ID, a description, the calculation frequency, the payment frequency that you want to follow, different dates that are going to control when the accrual is going to start being calculated, the different impact type, adjustments, aging functionalities, source type, source metric, and so on. We are going to get into detail in a few seconds about this. The incentive profiles has two components. The incentive that controls the behavior, and then the incentive filters that measures the scope of what is going to be tracked by the incentive profile. We are going to talk about the filters once we complete the incentive profiles description. So, getting back into the incentive profiles, let's expand one by one of the fields and the sections inside the screen. Let's create a new one, and let's start with creating a test incentive profile. So the profile ID is going to be an ID for the incentive profile that is human readable. Then we have a description, okay, and we have different information regarding to the calculation frequency and the payment frequency. The calculation frequency options and the payment frequency options can be controlled inside the commission preferences screen. The accrual starts on defines the calculation period that is going to be used as the beginning for the accruals calculations. In our examples, we have used 2022 month 1 as the beginning of the accruals starts calculation. Okay. Then we have a behavior section where you can define the impact type. The impact type has three main options. Production, that means the commissions are going to be calculated and there can be transactions on these commission records calculated. Then we have projection that are the standard for simulation, but any transaction related to payment accruals or general ledger posting is going to be applicable on this kind of incentive profiles. And then we have base for compound that is not subject to payments or general ledger posting, but can be used by an incentive profile of production type in order to measure certain metrics that can be used by another incentive profile. So in other words, an incentive profile of type production can use a base for compound incentive profile in order to index and measure metrics that can help the incentive to determine if some record could qualify or not to receive commissions. We are going to make another example for the base for compounding in another video, okay? So let's keep this simple, and we are going to use the traditional one that is going to be production. That means commission records are going to be calculated, and commission transactions as accruals and payments are going to be supported. Then we have different options related to adjustments on the costs based on bill related to the invoices, okay? The use of compound incentive, okay? And the use of rebates for adjustments. So with this, I introduce to you the ability to reduce the cost or increase the cost or decrease the revenue or decrease the revenue at the time of calculating commission records. That is going to help you to tweak the margins of your sales in order to pay the commission rates on these adjusted values. We are going to take in a deeper conversation once we discuss the cost and the revenue adjustments section, okay? Then we have an aging behavior. This determines that you can use the aging of the invoices when comparing with the start activation date of the customer, of the start activation date of a project at the time of calculating commissions. This feature over here is related to the incentive filters. This gives you the ability to unlock document filters based on the aging of the documents. An example of the aging of the document could be the aging of the invoices. For instance, you can desire to pay commissions on invoices that are created over the 3 months, the first 3 months of a customer. Okay, so all the invoices emitted to a customer in the first 3 months can be subject to commissions, and older invoices that are after the first 3 months are not going to receive commissions. So this option over here gives you the ability to get and to specify this kind of filters. Then getting into the detail area, we are going to start with the source tab. Under the source tab, we are going to define which is going to be the source type from where the commissions conductor is going to pull the original information at the time of creating commissions. It could be invoicing, sales order, external or custom. That can be a custom table, generic inquiries, and so on. Then we have the source metric type area, where the first option available is going to be the commission base or the commissionable base. Currently, we have several options as revenue, margin, quantity, and cost amount. This is going to be the value that is going to be multiplied by the commission rate that the commission conductor is going to select. So basically, assuming that you have a commission rate of 2%, then you can decide to apply that 2% on the revenue amount, the margin amount, the cost amount, or pay a specific dollar amount for each quantity that is sold in a particular sales document. Then we have the earnings open selection. We provide 4 different options. The sales booking determines that the commission is going to be effective for payment at the time of booking the sale. That means that when you release the invoice or when you transition a sales order to a particular status, the commission is going to be available and recognized as effective for payment. Then we have the sales paid percent and the sales fully paid. These three options over here are exclusive from the invoicing source, and the first one is shared by the invoicing and sales order sources, okay? So these three options over here that are available for the invoices determines if you want to pay the commissions in the same proportion as the customer pays an invoice. There are two options for the sales paid percent option, okay, that are related to the accrual type. The accrual can be performed on the payment. That means that the accrual is going to be performed on the amounts that the customer pays on the invoice, unlocking certain amount of money for the commission that is going to be paid based on the payments. Or you can pay percentually the commission amount, but accrue the potential commission at the time of releasing the invoice. So basically, with the third option, you are going to accrue the 100% of the commission that could be unlocked at the 100% of the payment, or you can decide to do not accrue any amount of money at the time of releasing the invoice and start accruing money when receiving the payments. Finally, we have the sales fully paid, where the accrual is going to be performed on the invoice. So the accrual is going to be performed at the time the invoice is released, and the accrual amount is going to be the 100% of the commission available, okay, or the commission that can be reached at the time of releasing the invoice. But the payment is going to be performed when the invoice that is related to the commission record is fully paid. So assuming that the customer pays the 50% of an invoice, the accrual is going to be done, okay, or performed on the 100% of the commission amount, and the commission is not going to be paid until the commission percentage has been 100% unlocked, because the invoice related to the commission record is 100% paid, okay? So with this option over here, you control how you want to create the accrual records or the accrual transactions, and at which time you want to recognize the commission records as effective for payment. Then we have the discount levels. In Acumatica, there are different kinds of discounts, okay? The most common one is the line discount. This is the line discount. This line discount is the discount that is given in the document transaction for invoice, for instance, in the invoices screen. If I open an invoice over here, oh, this is a great memo. I'm sorry, let me find an invoice. Okay, great. So I have discount amounts over here. So basically, with the line discount option, I'm telling to the system to consider the discount amount coming from the line detail of the invoice or sales order sources, okay? If I select the all option, I'm telling to the system to take not only the line discount from the line, but also the document discounts. So assuming that there is a document discount in the applying on the invoice, so this amount over here is going to be prorated over all the line details that are inside the sales document, okay? So depending on the amount of the money that each line is supporting to the transaction or to the sale document the portion that each line um, represents on the total of the sale is going to apply for the document discount. So basically, with this option, we can select to apply line discounts only, document discounts and line discounts, or none. Okay, that are going to be, we are going to avoid applying any kind of discounts related to the sales. So the typical configuration is the all option, okay? And then we have a custom payment method, okay? With the earnings open, there is a concept that is called effectiveness, okay? So basically, we need, the commissions conductor determines, based on these options over here, when a commission record becomes effective to be selected for payment transactions, okay? So the commission record, when the sales booking is selected, okay, when this option is selected, is going to be effective at the time of releasing the invoice, okay? So if an invoice is released at the time of calculating the commissions, that record is going to be immediately effective, okay, to be selected for a payment transaction. For these records over here, okay, the record is going to be effective for payment as soon as it receives payments, okay? And when it receives a payment and there is money that is available to be paid, okay, then that record is going to be checked as effective for the payment, okay? And then we have the sales fully paid. These records are going to be held from the effectiveness until the invoice gets balanced, okay? Or the 100% of the invoice related to the commission record is fully paid, okay? So with this option over here, we can add other conditions. So for instance, assuming that you want to release or check some kind of commission records based not only on these criteria, okay? So for instance, I could select or I could desire to make a commission record as effective at the time it is fully paid, and I would like also to add some kind of attribute from the invoices and memo, or a custom field from the invoices and memo, okay? Manage user defined fields, okay? And I could add, for instance, some kind of attribute. Let me find something over here. Do we have something? Position, location. I don't know. Let's assume that over here we have some kind of date, okay? So when we have this date populated, that could be, I don't know, a delivery date, or I don't know, validation date or something like that, okay? So we could add that condition by selecting this field over here and adding logic, okay? That is going to recognize that information from the source as a combination with this earnings open already condition to make the commission record as effective. So basically, we can add or plug in, okay, more validation regarding to the effectiveness of a commission record on demand. So if you want to recognize a commission as ready to be paid by using customized logic or business logic, we can do it by setting up, turning on this flag on over here and adding a customization code, okay, that can add whichever condition that you want from any source that you want, okay? Then we have the modifiers area. that, that specifies some kind of logic regarding to how you want to specify the tiers grouping, okay? Right now we specify we are able to select a secondary tier group that can be based on customers, okay? The typical one is none, okay? And then we have commission applications, okay? We can use aggregator tiers that under the scope of a calculation frequency, there are sales that are going to be added together, okay? And by the end of the calculation frequency, they are going to totalize some kind of revenue, margin, quantity, cost amount, and based on this aggregation, they are going to index, okay, a table in order to find the proper commission rate that is going to be applied on all the transactions under the scope of this incentive and the calculation period, okay? That is the aggregated tier option. Then we have the individual tier that is a tier index, okay, that is validated or indexed based on the current line transaction from a sales document. We are not going to aggregate anything under the scope of a calculation period. We are going to process each line individually to select the proper commission rate based on certain criteria that we're going to discuss in a little bit. Okay? Then we have other options to decrease or to adjust the commission values based on finance charges. We can use the project profitability related to the sales document. We can apply commissions overhead based on, I don't know, some kind of expenses that you could receive based on systematic expenses that you have at the time of selling some product classes or for specific customers or something like that. And then you can use a payment age commission reduction that is going to allow you to pay different commission rates depending on how much time, okay, the invoice becomes 100% paid. So for instance, if the invoice is paid in 1 month, you are going to pay the 100% of the commission rate. But if the invoice remains open for more than 3 months, then you are going to reduce in some percentage, let's say 2%, the commission rate that the invoice should get, okay? So with this, you can control how you want to reduce the commission based on the amount of time that an invoice takes to be 100% paid or fully closed, okay? So with this area, the source area, we are defining some metrics, okay, that are going to be related to the source of the commission record, how the commission is going to be indexed, the commission is going to be adjusted based on certain criteria, based on the related bills, on the finance charges. You are going to decrease the commission based on the aging from a payment perspective and so on. So far we have defined the behavior of how my commission or incentive plan is going to work, okay? Then we have the tier settings. In the tier settings, we have different tiers type, okay? We have a static, okay? That means that the commission rate table is something that is not going to vary over the time, okay? We have aging. That means that based on the age of an invoice, okay, the commission rate can vary, and this can be automated, so you don't need to pay attention to the aging of the transaction. We have branch, that basically depending on certain criteria as customer classes, customer location, or something like that, you will decide to pay more or less commission to a specific customers or locations or whatever. And then we have a stat. The stacked commission amount means that when you have an aggregation tier type, okay, then assuming that you have an aggregation of, I don't know, over from 0 to 500,000, you could decide for the first 100,000 to pay 100%. I'm sorry, 1%, and for the tier or from the window from 100,000 to 200,000 to pay 3%, and from the window of 200,000 to 300,000 to pay more amount of money. So you can decide, depending on the window size, how much commission to pay on that specific window of amounts. Okay, so this is a stack. It's a commission that as soon you reach a new level, you are going to vary the commission rate on the specific window of time you are positioned at the moment. Okay, so then we have the ability to index the commission rates table based on 3 different indexes. The indexes can be revenue, margin percentage, quantity, cost amount, role tenure, or a custom KPI. Okay, so the KPI is a table that you can fill by each salesperson and a specific calculation period, and define a metric that can be evaluated by an incentive profile at the time of determining the commission rate. The role tenure means the amount of months, okay, that has passed a person under certain role, okay. The cost amount, that means the cost amount of the transaction, the quantity of the transaction, the margin percent of the transaction, the margin amount of the transaction, or the revenue amount of the transaction. Depending on if you select over here aggregated or individual, okay, these options over here are going to be under the scope of the aggregation for the calculation period or the single line transaction, okay? So you can make different combination as quantity, revenue, plus KPI, okay? And from here you are able to select a particular KPI. I don't have any KPI defined at this moment, but I could define them, okay, by using a key performance indicator. Let's do it right now. For instance, that is going to be key performance indicator. I'm going to create a new one. That is going to be 5 stars reviews. 5 stars review. Okay, so this is going to live under a monthly calculation period. And I'm going to put over here 5 stars. Okay, and the decimal places are going to be 0 because this is going to be an integer value. And then getting back over here, I'm able to select this option for the KPI over here. Okay, so basically I can index my table by using 3 different incentive tier targets. Okay, the main one, the secondary, and the tertiary tier target. Okay, so with this area over here, we can configure how do we want to index the commission rates table in order to select the proper commission rate that is going to be applied on the different commission records that the calculate commissions process is going to create. Then we have the filter version that is related to the second entity that we have mentioned at the beginning of the video. There are the the filter versions for an incentive over here. I'm going to go over there in a second. Okay, then we have roles. These are the different roles that are related to this incentive. Right now I don't have anyone, but if I move to another one, okay, for instance this yearly bonus, I see that I have a salesperson. If I move to another one, for instance consumer, I have 3 different incentives related to these roles over here. Okay, And these are coming from this combination over here, the role incentive combination. That is a template that is going to be used to select the proper commission rates structure, okay? Then we have the salespeople that are related to this incentive profile, okay? And the beginning of the person playing the incentive profile over here with the different roles. Then we have the active person role incentive, this entity over here, that are the records, okay, that have been created for a particular person playing a particular role, okay? And this is a person role incentive version entity. That is the entity that is going to receive commissions. So over here you see the commission percentage, the default from the role incentive template, the status of the person role incentive, the version start period, and the role tenure. That is something that we have discussed already, related to the tenure of the aging of a person playing a role, okay? So for instance, all of them are playing right now 24 months, okay? Because we have set the same start date for all the people, okay, playing the different roles in the system. Then we have the cost revenue adjustments. These are different criteria to increase the cost, the revenue, or decrease the cost of the revenue, okay? So basically, depending on the purchase order source or the customer class or the adjustment by the order type or the item classes, I can increase or decrease the cost and the revenue. Let me create a new one, okay, to show you this really quick. So for instance, assuming that for a specific customer class, I want to increase the cost 1% and decrease the revenue 1%, I could do so, okay? And the function time can be a percentage on the line, okay? This percentage on the line, this percentage on the unit, okay? Coming from the sales document, a particular amount on a line, for instance, instead of 1%, they can change the meaning to a flat amount, I don't know, $10 of increasement, a decreasement of, I don't know, $2 over here, okay? Or a specific increasement of the cost, a decreasement of the revenue on each line unit, okay? So I could increase the cost of a unit in $1 and decrease the revenue in $0.5, okay, or something like that. So the idea is that you are able to control and adjust the cost and the revenue of your commission records, okay, based on different criteria as purchase order source, customer classes, order types, item classes, bills related to documents, rebates coming from the customers, finance charges coming from the bills and payments and applications, overhead for certain transactions, and so on, okay? Finally, okay, at the end, the general ledger accounts determines which are going to be the different accounts that are going to be used for this incentive at the time of creating the different transactions for the commissions conductor, accrual or payouts, okay? So this information is defaulted from the commission preferences screen, but you could modify them, okay, at the time you want. At the time of you create a new one, so you can select a particular cost amount. So for instance, something that our customers use a lot is to take the cost account and cost sub-account coming from the line transaction. So for instance, by selecting these checkboxes over here, the cost and the cost sub-account that are going to be used are going to be determined by the sub-account and the account from the line from the line source, okay, from the source of the line. This is going to be dynamically selected, okay, and at the time of performing the accruals and the payment transactions, okay, these accounts over here are going to be used, okay, coming from the line details, okay. So that is something that you can use, and you can select by incentive, okay, the sub accounts for the accruals and the cost. Also, you could select not to use information related to the incentive, but to use the account source coming from the salesperson. And as we have seen in a prior video, the sales agent management screen has a place where you can define the different accounts that could be used to perform accruals and payment transactions, okay, for that can be specific for each salesperson in the system, okay. So getting back into the incentive profile, okay, let me select one of them that I have already created, okay. Great. So we have already reviewed the source area where we define the behavior of how the incentive plan is going to be acting, okay, and the behavior of the incentive plan in general. The tier settings are which are the metrics that I want to evaluate at the time of indexing the commission rates, okay, that are going to be selected to be applied on my commissionable base, okay, defined over here. Then we have the filter versions that we are going to jump on that in a little bit. Then we have the roles that are related to this incentive profile. We have the salesperson or the salespeople related to this incentive profile. The active person role incentives combinations, okay, that has been created in the system. The different adjustments for the cost and the revenue based on different metrics as item class, order type, customer class, or purchase order source. And then which is going to be the configuration of the accounts used by this incentive at the time of performing accruals and payment transactions. Jumping on the filter versions, okay, I'm going to open an already version that I have created over here, okay, and this screen is called incentive filters screen, okay, and over here we define the filters, okay, that determines which are going to be the different line items that are going to be used when running this incentive profile over here, okay. So we have an incentive profile ID that matches the incentive profile that is related to this version. We have a version ID numbering. Why? Because you can create different versions over the time. So for instance, assuming that you want to create a new version starting in 2024, I could do something like this, version 2 for 2024. Okay, so this is a version in a draft status, okay, that is similar to the previous one, okay, from a perspective of the filters, but now this filter over here is active, okay. This version over here is active, and this one over here is in a draft status, okay, and it is supposed to start in 2024. During while this version is in a draft status, I'm able to edit it, okay? So for instance, assuming that I don't want to measure or to track this item class anymore starting in 2024, I could do so, okay? And I could activate this version in order to be effective starting in 2024. I'm not going to do that because we will need this incentive for another example that I want to run to, okay? But the important thing is that in order to make this filter available to run commissions, it needs to be in an active status. And then we have different conditions that are going to help to select the proper lines that are going to be measured by this incentive profile. And we have two different sections to include and exclude filters. So for instance, I want to include only stock items and a set of inventory classes list, okay? So I could do so easily by selecting the inventory class, okay? That is going to show me a new tab, and I'm going to select all the item classes that are going to be related to this incentive profile. So assuming that I want to combine different filters, this is going to look like this, okay? So for instance, I want to include these inventory classes and exclude these branches. So I'm going to include these inventory classes, excluding, I don't know, the services west and the services east, okay? So by doing this and activating this version, the system is going to pick these item classes when the cells are not related to these branches over here, okay? So I can use other information, for instance, related to order types. So I want this incentive to be applied only on Shopify orders, for instance. So right now I have that all the stock items coming from Shopify orders for these inventory classes not related to these branches are going to be selected, okay, under the scope of this incentive profile. So you can see how easily can be to create rules over here. So what you need to do is to select the checkbox to include or exclude, okay? Select the list of the inclusions or exclusions that you want to perform on an incentive filter. So we have another kind of metric. So for instance, I want to incentivize sales documents that are above $300, okay? And I only want aging filters that are related to the customer when the customer, exactly. So for instance, for invoices that are for the first 2 months of a customer, okay, I want to pay commissions, okay? That is going to be the new rule for 2024. So what we have over here, so transactions that are above $300 when the invoice is less than 60 days older from the first invoice created for a customer or from the customer activation date, applied on stock items for the Shopify orders and this list of inventory classes, excluding these branches. This incentive is going to start being triggered to catch these particular conditions at the time of calculating commission records, okay? So we have a bunch of combinations that we support. In a few months, we are going to add even more power to this area over here, because we are going to allow you at the time of selecting these filters over here, a generic inquiry is going to be created on demand, and then you can modify that generic inquiry in the way you want, okay? This is going to still be available over here, but then you will be able to visualize which are going to be the different commission records, okay? Depending on the filters, okay? In a side panel over here, okay? And then you will be able to add even more conditions to these generic inquiries in order to tweak in a more sophisticated way, which are going to be the transaction line details that you want to measure, okay? So with this, we finalize or we conclude with the incentive filters screen. So basically, this is the place where you define the conditions of what you want to measure for this incentive profile. Something that is important is the fact that this has different versions, okay? When you create a version and you activate the version, the entire document gets disabled because we want to keep the exact information that was used to calculate commission records for audit purposes, okay? So if you want to create something new, okay, you can always create a new version, and then you can override the configuration that you had in the past by activating a new one, okay? When I activate this version, okay, over here, this version is going to get an end period that is going to be selected. So let's do that. I'm going to activate this version, and now this version is active as well. It got disabled if I get back into the previous one, now I have an expiration date for this version over here, okay? So basically you can create or you can play with the versions in the way you want. For instance, for seasoning, okay, or for kind of periods of time, you want to include or remove products to your different lists listed over here, or to include branches, exclude branches, or to add other order types, okay? And you are available to do that by using the versioning option, okay, from the Commissions Conductor. So getting back into the incentive profiles screen, okay, we can see how the incentive profile is the place you define the behavior, okay? Then you have different options to adjust the amounts that are going to be used to calculate commissions. Then you have tier settings that you can use to define how you are going to index the commission rates that are going to be paid. You can select the source or which are the type of accounts that you want to use when performing commissions transactions on this incentive. Define adjustment on the cost and the revenue. You can see the information of the entities that are related to the incentive, the role, the salespeople, and the combination of the three main entities over here. And then you have an area where you can select the different versions that are going to be used when running the commissions for this incentive. So with this, we are going to conclude with this conversation related to the incentive profiles entity in the Commissions Conductor. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one, and have a good day. Bye-bye.